The Patriots were hit with a $1 million fine, which is the largest in NFL history, by the way, and docked 2 draft picks, a first-round pick in 2016 and a 4th-round pick in 2017. Now, as for quarterback Tom Brady, he was hit with a 4-game suspension without pay. So, gentlemen, I want to get your reaction. What was your reaction to the punishment? Stephen A., let's go to you first.
Well, like I said, nobody takes joy from this. Tom Brady is obviously a future Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. He's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. So anytime you see somebody of his magnitude, particularly considering the image that he had in terms of how he conducts himself, what kind of ambassador he's been on behalf of the National Football League, which Roger Goodell himself has commended him for in years past, to see it come down to this, it hurts, to be quite honest with you. But the reality is that he deserved it. He deserved the 4 games. They can appeal all day long. It does not matter. He deserved it. And he deserved it primarily because I believe that Tom Brady put forth a lackluster effort in defending himself. Maybe because it was indefensible. Maybe because he was too arrogant to believe that, you know, he was arrogant enough to believe that it doesn't matter what the situation is, that he can do what he wants to do. I don't know. All I know is that based on a Wells report, the investigation, and how it surmised that Tom Brady probably knew, those were his words, even though Troy Vincent, the executive VP in the National Football League, along with Roger Goodell, clearly believe it's far more than probable that Tom Brady knew something. They thought that 4 games was apropos. And I have to conclude that I believe that they are right in all of this. The person who was in the position to defend themselves most vociferously was Tom Brady. His daddy spoke up on his behalf. His agent spoke up on his behalf. Robert Kraft, the owner for the New England Patriots, who I still love dearly and consider to be first class all the way as far as I'm concerned, regardless of what this report says, they all came to the defense of Tom Brady. Tom Brady did a half-half job of coming to his own defense. And I think that when it's one thing when somebody's just trying to get into the incident itself, but it's another thing entirely when somebody questions, Skip, your truthfulness, your integrity, your character. You don't need days or weeks or months to respond to something like that. Tom Brady did a very, very poor job of coming to his own defense. And because of that, combined with the investigation, combined with what Troy Vincent concluded, and remember, I covered Troy Vincent when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. He is a man of incredible and tremendous integrity and character. I think for him to reach this conclusion and to give this kind of counsel to Roger Goodell in terms of his recommendation as to what the suspension should be, I'm not going to question it. As it pertains to the $1 million fine on the part of the Patriots, along with confiscation of 1st and 4th round picks in 2016, 2017, respectively, initially I was taken aback by that because I said the Wells report essentially said that Bill Belichick, his coaching staff, nor Robert Kraft, the owner, had any knowledge of what was taking place. According to the report, they didn't know. You know, I don't want to go as far as to say they were exonerated, but I can go as far as to say that they found no evidence that would implicate or indict any of those respective parties. So initially, when I saw the $1 million fine along with the confiscation of the draft picks, I was taken aback. But then I remember Spygate. And I remember how Roger Goodell did the Patriots a huge favor by burning those tapes and making sure none of us ever saw what exactly they had done from a visual perspective. And he gave them a mulligan there. And this time he brought down the hammer. So it clearly is a cumulative effect and a cumulative judgment that Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent, and the NFL League office has exacted against the National Football League. And when you take that into consideration, it makes the penalty easier to stomach. It makes more sense. So I understand.
You know, Mr. Smith, I was going to go in a different direction with my opening soliloquy in answer to you, but I've had to scrap it because of the point you just made. I cannot connect your dots, your apple leading to an orange conclusion. So you're trying to tell me Tom Brady deserved it because he didn't publicly defend himself. Is that the conclusion you've reached? He deserved 4 games because he didn't publicly defend himself.
No, I'm saying to you that based on the investigation, both you and I concluded that we think he's lying. And as a result of that, the 4 games make sense. But I'm saying it's further justifiable in my mind because he did a poor job of defending himself. Okay, which is something we have talked about over the last several days.
Okay, I get it. But we have no idea how he defended himself in private to the investigators. All I know is that he apparently was defiant about how innocent he was. And that defiance might have contributed to more games of a suspension, to 3 going to 4 games. Okay? I get you there. We'll talk about how Brady's going to fight back in the next question. But I hear what you're saying. The day after the Wells report broke, I said right here sitting in this chair, I thought off what I'd read circumstantially that the league would go to 4 games, and the league went to 4. It's a PED-length suspension for a violation that this league considers PED-like. It's gaining an unfair advantage, obviously, by underinflating the football. So we agree there. And if Brady was defiant in his interviews with the investigators and he wasn't fully cooperative with the investigators, that led to Roger Goodell needing some new credibility and to sort of redefine his stature as the CEO of this league, flexing his muscles and lowering the boom on a good guy quarterback with 4 Super Bowl rings and up to this point, a spotless reputation. So I thought it was a little harsh, but I got it because it was predictable to me. Now, where we disagreed on this was, I thought Bill Belichick deserved an 8-game suspension because he's ultimately culpable as the CEO of the football operation of the New England Patriots. You said 0 games because the Wells report left him completely out, exonerated him, or at least gave him a complete pass because he was not held responsible for what they held Tom Brady responsible for. I said baloney to that because I believe he knew whatever Tom Brady did or didn't do, Bill Belichick signed off on. So my point was this. The shocker to me was that Roger Goodell and the guy you pointed out, Troy Vincent, really lowered the boom on Bill Belichick in ways I didn't see coming. This is way beyond an 8-game suspension for the head coach. They docked the Patriots a 1st-round pick in 2016 and even a 4th round, which is a pretty valuable pick, in 2017. That is aimed straight at the head coach. That has everything to do with the fact that the head coach did get busted, caught red-handed cheating in Spygate. And it harks back to the point in 2007 when Goodell made it clear to Bill Belichick, 0 tolerance from here on. This is a statement made against Belichick and also, to a degree, against the owner, Robert Kraft, who was also defiant, you remember, as he arrived at the Super Bowl. What did he say? I'm completely behind Tom Brady, and I believe every word he says. And if the NFL is proved wrong here, they owe us an apology, said Robert Kraft. So now Goodell is saying, well, watch this. Everybody thinks I'm buddy-buddy with Bob Kraft. Watch what I'm about to do to Bob Kraft. A 1st-round pick in 2016. That's not aimed at Tom Brady. Tom Brady will play at 38 years of age next year. 39, 40. Does he have a couple of more years left? So these draft picks aren't going to hurt Tom Brady. They're going to hurt Belichick if, in fact, he continues coaching, and certainly Bob Kraft if, as we all believe, he will continue to own the New England Patriots. So that's way beyond an 8-game suspension for the head coach. That's hitting you where you hurt the most, and that has a lot to do with Belichick's track record for bending and breaking rules and all the accusations levied against him back to the first 2 Super Bowls. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let's cut to the chase. What's his name for the Atlanta Falcons? Skip Rich McKay. He was on. I think he was on the competition committee.
He was.
I think he had served on the competition committee for 21 years. But when they learned that folks for the Atlanta Falcons had, did something to manipulate the noise within the stadium, and they consider it obviously trying to gain a competitive advantage, they showed and explicitly stated that it wasn't proved he had any knowledge of what was going on. but they removed him from the competition committee. Okay? Why is that? Because, again, when you're an overseer, you're responsible. So what they're saying is that ignorance isn't bliss. In this case, it's indictable.
Yeah.
And it's not an excuse. Yeah. And ultimately, we're going to hold you culpable. So what I'm trying to say to you is that it's one thing for them to hold the Patriots culpable, meaning Bill Belichick and the like, because you are the boss. So that's entirely different than saying you had specific knowledge of Deflategate.
Well,
they didn't say that. The Wells investigation.
They're implying that.
Well, they're not implying it. They're implying that he's responsible whether he knew or not, because you're the guy in charge. We don't want to hear that you didn't know anything. We don't want to hear that, you know what, you got to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear, and you think that you're going to escape culpability. They're saying, well, maybe you'll know in the future once we bring this hammer down upon you, because we're not letting anybody get in the way with turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to what's going on under their stewardship. That's entirely different than saying you absolutely knew and you joined with Tom Brady in trying to gain a competitive advantage and deceive opponents and gain a competitive advantage. They're saying two different things to me about Tom Brady compared to what they're saying about Bill Belichick. They're accusing Bill Belichick of not being responsible. They're accusing the Patriots of not being responsible enough. They are accusing Tom Brady of cheating and lying. That's two different things.
Between the lines, they're saying Belichick had to know about this. And again, given his track record, well, he's the overseer now. I'm sorry. It's what happened to Sean Payton, gone for a year because he oversaw the operation, and also he lied to the commissioner when he was questioned. But he also oversaw the operation that produced Bountygate, whether it came from the defensive coordinator, no matter where it came from, the head coach is held responsible. But I, for one, there's not 1 second that I haven't thought Bill Belichick knew exactly what happened, if not commissioned what happened with these deflated footballs.
There's another point that I think you're missing with this whole $1 million fine and the confiscation of the first and fourth round picks. According to a couple of sources with the NFL, you got to remember that the NFL agreed with the Patriots they were going to let this ride and deal with this after the Super Bowl. And that was basically the tacit understanding amongst all parties concerned. What happens? Robert Kraft then shows up Super Bowl week and literally holds a press conference, not only defending Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and standing completely by them, but going as far as to say, I expect an apology from Roger Goodell and the National Football League office. That really rubbed quite a few people the wrong way. And from that point forward, it was on. It was like, okay, now you done crossed the line because you had that press conference. You know, we were going to address this after the Super Bowl, and that's fair enough, but we weren't going to touch it. We're going to leave it alone. We wasn't going to address the matter. And here you come, literally calling us out. So don't think for 1 second that didn't factor into the $1 million fine, the confiscation of a first and a fourth round pick. Because if I'm Roger Goodell, more so Roger Goodell than obviously Troy Vincent, because Troy Vincent is an employee, and Roger Goodell, even though he's the commissioner under the stewardship of the owners, the bottom line is they've empowered him with what they've empowered him with. So he's different. Roger Goodell didn't sit back and take too kindly to that. There's no question that factored into the judgment that was handed down to the Patriots. It ain't just about Belichick. It ain't just about Brady. It's also about Mr. Kraft. You know how I feel about Mr. Kraft.
I do.
But it's also about Mr. Kraft willing to boldly stand before the masses and demand an apology. Now you don't put them on a hot seat.
And by the way, he's still standing by his quarterback in his statement. Okay.
Sure.
And we're about to discuss this.
Yeah. So far, Tom Brady has not apologized. He's essentially not necessarily defending himself. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds. So let's talk about